Good. All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Good seeing everybody. Obviously, recapping last week, I thought it was a great win for our team. It was a great win for our program. Really happy with the way the guys responded from going to Kansas and not getting the result that we wanted. I thought offensively, we really played the game the way we wanted to play it. I thought we were really physical. Riley was efficient throwing the football. It was a tough night to get things really going in the passing game, and so we really had to rely on our running game. And we were able to do that. And again, I thought the way we finished that game, controlling 7.5 minutes of clock in the fourth quarter, was something that we were really happy about. Defensively, I thought we really took some big strides forward. I thought we limited a very potent passing attack. A team that really had gotten into some rhythm in the second half of Syracuse the week before. And, I thought we played pretty well defensively. I thought we kind of corralled them, a lot better than we have in previous weeks. And so I was really happy with the steps those guys took. And then we made some big plays on special teams. I thought obviously the punt block early was huge. That led to a touchdown. The fumble recovery was huge. That led to a touchdown. And so I thought we were able to make some plays on special teams that really impacted the game. Signaling out a couple of our players of the week on defense. Shaka Hayward was our defensive player of the week. Jamion Franklin was our defensive lineman of the week, and I thought he had his best game of the year, certainly with a sack and a couple pass breakups. That was a really big night for him. Jalen Calhoun was our offensive player of the week, and Jalen, it was a great story. He obviously does such a great job passing, but one of the things that really stood out was just how hard he played and how well he blocked. There were a couple times in some of those short yardage goal line situations where we were almost using him as an extra tight end to pick up edge blitzers, and I thought he went down there and did a phenomenal job of setting edges and blocking for us. And then Jacob Monk was our offensive lineman of the week, and then obviously he was recognized today as the ACC offensive lineman of the week too, and so happy for him. In a continuing trend, Ryan Smith was our special teams player of the week, and I said this to the team this morning, like he epitomizes what we want this program to be, because he's a kid that shifted positions in the offseason, is kind of growing into his role at defensive end. Obviously would probably wish he was playing a little bit more on defense, but has really embraced what his role is, and is really finding ways to impact football games and help us win. And so really happy for Ryan, and thankful that he's playing the way he is, because he's making a huge difference for us. And so really excited about what he's doing. And then moving on to next week, obviously going down to Georgia Tech. I think anytime you go on the road in this conference, you have your hands full. Obviously, they responded really well last week to the coaching change. And, sometimes when kids face adversity, you'd be surprised how strong they are and how much they rally together. And I think that really showed up last week. A tremendous amount of respect for that entire program and what they did, coming together, going on the road and beating a really good Pittsburgh team, on the road Saturday night. And so it's going to take everything we have. We're going to have to bounce back, have a great week of practice, have a great week of preparation, and go out and play the way that we're capable of playing. And then just on the injury front, Trey Freeman is going to be out for a couple weeks, and he's got a lower leg deal that we're going to have to see him through. Anthony Nelson is going to be out for a couple weeks. He's got a lower body deal that we're going to have to see him through a little bit. We hope to get both of those guys back, though, at some point in the coming weeks. And then everybody else who got banged up, we anticipate having this week. So we should have the rest of the roster ready to go come Saturday night. And so from there, I'll kind of open it up to questions. Yeah, I think it's critical. In the modern era of college football, you've got to be able to attack people in a lot of different ways. And you see so many different matchups and styles of defense, and there's weeks where the matchups for us to throw the ball are a little bit better, and then there's matchups where we feel like we're going to have to run the ball to be successful, and we've got to be able to be diversified in our attack, and we can't be one-dimensional. I think anytime you're one-dimensional in anything you do, it's easier for defenses to target and tee off on you. And so I'm just happy with how that offense is growing. I think it grows week to week. I think we get a little bit more diverse week to week, and we're able to continue to find ways to move the football and score points. Yeah, honestly, it's a little bit tough to tell. Certainly they responded diversely and played their best game against Pitt, but also, like, you look at their schedule, and it's a very daunting schedule. They've had to play Clemson, they've had to play Ole Miss, they've had to play on the road at UCF, they've had to play on the road at Pittsburgh. They're playing a lot of teams that are very well regarded and very highly ranked, and so they're playing really good competition. And so I think this is a really dangerous football team. I think they're really talented. I think there's a lot of guys, individual players that stand out, and then maybe for them they were able to get a little bit of confidence bringing it all together last week and secure securing the victory. Yeah, no, I don't think so, because I think obviously Coach Key will put his stamp on the program, and there'll be certain things that he wants. But really, at that point, you're so deep into your schemes. You can't change your schemes that drastically from Sunday to Saturday. And so the coordinators are still in place, and so those still rolling. And so maybe it's a little bit of an emphasis here or there. Maybe we want to run the ball a little bit more effectively or something like that. But it's really hard to just kind of revamp your scheme in the middle of the season, because you won't have enough reps to feel comfortable with what you're running. Yeah, I think it's just constant conversation. We told him this morning, and it was a real simple response. I said, people who have success do one of two things. They get addicted to success, which means they continue to work as hard as they've worked. They continue to understand how small the margins are to being successful, and they find ways to work harder and up their game. Or people get lazy and they relax, and you see it all over the country. If you relax for a second in this game, you'll get humbled in a heartbeat, and that's just football. And so we make it very clear. I think we've been able to do it. We've had some early success. We had the Northwestern game, and we bounced right back, and I thought I had a great week of practice. We've got a mature group. We've got great leadership, so I certainly anticipate us handling it the right way, but obviously it's something we address and we talk about for sure. Wow. Yeah, I mean, he's been critical. I can't be, him and Jacob, or him and Dwayne on defense, really, the two of them, and Shaka, just because you asked about him, have really kind of embraced us, and embraced what we're trying to preach. And when you get here, it's always a two-way street, right? We want to do everything we can to help our older guys have success now, right? And we talked about that in the press conference, but at the end of the day, they have to want it too, right? They have to be willing to do the things the way we want to do them in order to create that cohesion that allows it to work. And so, Shaka and I spent a lot of time talking early when I got here just about those types of things, like, hey, I'm going to give you everything I got, but in return, I need everything you got, and I need the buy-in, and I need you to help me in the locker room, and I need you to be a great voice for me, and he's been more than I could have hoped for. I mean, he's a great leader. He's obviously a tremendous kid, and he's playing at a really, really high level right now, and so just happy for him that he's getting the results that he deserves. Best part. No, I mean, we anticipated and created the look that we thought could have success, and it's funny because when you do the punt blocks, you always kind of think it's going to go a certain way, but you tell everybody, like, hey, you got to go, because you never know who they're going to cut loose, or you never know where the leakage might come from. And so, I think Ryan just embraces that. And so, maybe he wasn't the design blocker per se, but we do emphasize that, hey, you can create a crease in the shield, and he did it, and he slipped through, and he was able to block the kick. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think it creates confidence. I think, and again, we keep going back to this, and I don't mean to keep belaboring this point, but they know how hard they worked, but until you see results, you're always still a little bit skeptical, like, where am I? Like, how do I stack up? And that's only human nature. And so I think every time they go out there on the field against a higher level of competition, and Virginia was a higher level of competition for us, and realize that, okay, I'm okay. I can hold up strength-wise. I'm able to hold up and play the game the way I want to play it right now. I think it just builds some confidence. And now, our challenge is just making sure that confidence stays grounded in preparation, and that we continue to prepare the right way every single week. Yeah, for sure. And I think we did a lot of situational work in the fall, right? And one of the things that we did a lot with these guys was we just kept talking about playing winning football. We're going to get to the end of football games in the ACC, and they're going to be close games, and our ability to execute situations at the end of games is going to be critical. And you could talk about it and you can practice it, but at the end of the day, they've got to go out and they've got to execute it, right? And so 2 weeks ago, we went out, executed what we call a 6-minute drive, which is, you're down 2 scores towards the end of the game, and you got to get the score to give yourself a chance to tie the game, and we did that. This past week, that's what we call a 4-minute drive. It's the end of the game, and we're trying to bleed the clock, and we know we're going to run the ball, and they're going to have extra people in the box, and they're going to be loaded up to stop the run, but we've got to find ways to still move the ball and get first downs through the ground game, and as we're doing that, we want to make sure that we're milking the clock and snapping it with as little time as possible. And so obviously I think our coaching staff does a really good job of preparing them for it. We certainly practice it every week. It's something that's part of what we do, but then at the end of the day, they have to go out and execute it, and certainly our offense and Riley did a great job of doing that. Win the turnover battle and execute. And it's I mean, that's what it is. I know you want these like big grand answers, but it's going to be an interesting battle because I think we're 1-2 in the ACC this year in turnover margin, us and them. And so they're doing a really good job of protecting the football and taking it away. We're doing a really good job of protecting the football and taking it away. That'll obviously be critical. Third downs, I think, will be critical. How we can control the quarterback and contain him will be critical, and how fast we start will be critical. And so, football, we always want it to be about something different. I think the core of football always stays the same. I think the challenge week in and week out is how do you achieve that same level of success, right? Like, how do you protect the quarterback this week is completely different than how you protected him last week. It's just a different matchup. It's a different scheme. It's a different, And so there's a lot of nuances that go into how you ultimately get those big results that you want. But at the end of the day, you're going to pick up the paper and it's still going to be those critical factors that determine the outcome of the game. And we just got to do a good job all week of making sure that we're coming out on the right side of those things.
Mike, I know you can't talk about individual recruits, but the way you guys have started and people see your program now, do you feel like there's been maybe an uptick in interest in Duke football, possibly from recruits?
Yeah, I think so. I think people are taking notice of it. And I think as we've gone through recruiting, our message has been very simple. If you really want a place that can offer you the best of both worlds, here's a great opportunity. Here's a great opportunity to get a great education. Here's a great opportunity to play and compete at a high level of football. And Duke athletics is extremely successful. We've got programs all over the place winning, right? We just knocked off #1 in men's soccer. Obviously, everything that our men's basketball program does year in and year out. And football can be that. I mean, there's no reason why we can't field the same type of competitive, successful football team here at Duke. We absolutely can. It might take a little bit of time. We got to keep working to do it. But I think every time recruits see those results on the field, I think it makes them believe in the messaging a lot more. Yeah, we just have to continue to get better at trying to execute what we're trying to do. I think it's been different breakdowns. I think at times it's been coverage breakdowns. At times we haven't been able to get enough rush. We've got to continue to try to execute our blitz game a little bit better during the week to feel a little bit more comfortable calling it on Saturday and calling it a little bit more often. And then I think some of it on Saturday was we didn't do a great job on first and second down. I think some of this past Saturday's failures was there was a lot of 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3s early in that game, and those are really hard to stop. I mean, those are really slanted in the other team. And so I think it's been a combination of breakdowns. It's certainly not from a lack of trying from our kids or from our coaching staff. I think we're just all learning from each other how we can kind of figure out a way to execute a little bit better and get off the field a little bit better.